Hi, Tea Society. Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out Tower of God, Season 2, Episode 23. I don't know how I feel going into this, which is not entirely how I want to be when I'm going into the season finale. Maybe it's just because I already know the basic story, right? Because we read the Webtoon, but also just because the last episode, I feel the animation. I feel it every time there's an episode that is more like action centric. And whenever it's more like character things, I'm like, I feel like you can get away with some of that a little bit more. But when you're trying to make me feel the urgency of what's going on, the time limits, the stakes of everything that's going on, which I feel like the last episode definitely was, there just isn't enough weight behind the animation for me to feel that, especially like, given the cliffhanger at the end of the last episode with Wangnan. I'm like, you didn't make me feel it. I felt it in the Webtoon, and the Webtoon is just still panels. So like, even me being like the animation isn't there, I looked at pictures and it made me feel something else compared to the last episode, and that just makes me a little bit sad. But maybe there will be a moment near the end. I'm just hoping that they've saved some of the budget for the last couple of episodes. I don't know. I'm just trying to be optimistic. In 3, 2, 1, go. See, like, I should be more intimidated by Beta, because he's in his full Manic era. Oh yeah, they really liked the shaky cam in the last episode too, and I was like, shaky cam can only take you so far. I feel like we don't fully like key into the fact that Quattro just like cooked someone alive, basically. Yeah, a lot has happened. Before he can do anything, that would really suck, wouldn't it? If something happened. I feel like, okay, I understand what they were going for with like the shock value, right? And like the cliffhanger. The series is great for cliffhangers, much to my frustration while going through the Webtoon. But I feel like showing that scene of Beta like walking through the hallway and like the light, which I feel like again could have been cool. I was so hoping that they would lean into some of the like horror elements that come with like the workshop battles, right? I was like, the sound design with like Emily was great, and they had some of these off-kilter moments, even some of it with like Kun, right? Because he has a bit of that like unhinged edge to him, right? Like there was something about him that is like terrifying and like lurks under the surface of his like very well catered facade, right? That I feel like you could have made that scene actually like terrifying and scary, and I feel like putting that in before we get the reveal with Wangnan would have done wonders for like the pacing, because Beta just kind of like disappears for a good chunk of the story, and then he just like appears at the end, and it feels like a little bit weird for the pacing. I don't know, I feel like a good cliffhanger, you got to set it up for me properly. You can't use shock value and expect me to give a pass, I guess. Still a terrifying image, though. Also, the sound design again continues to be good, and I don't always appreciate that in this moments where I'm like, ugh. I mean, he did kill a bunch of his friends, so like I feel like trying to reason with who he should be attacking is like, we're projecting quite a bit here. Not on my boy's watch. Yeah. My sweet darling will avenge. Much like me, he rages. He takes naps. That's his job. And knows things. He doesn't participate much, though. It's been so long since, like, Lorray, right? I think I called him Lore like the first time, and I'm like Lorray, and I can't even remember now how I pronounce his name because it's been a millennia since he's done anything except just like been carried around by Hobbs. I love the charge ahead. I mean, like, I don't want to keep being like judgy, but like, what an uninteresting scene because like his mouth doesn't even move. You can't see anything. Make me fear them. You know what I mean? Like, make me tense. See, he doesn't do much. He takes naps and he knows things. He seems surprisingly like nonplussed about that. You should. You should expect more. It's kind of crazy though that he just like messed with his like equilibrium and that's how he dealt with it. Like that's wild. Ew. Don't hit the important ones. Nice. Boy, you should lay down. I like that he gets to have a hero moment though, right? Like despite the fact he was impaled, he gets to have a moment of being on the mission. He knew his part and he was like, we're gonna make it happen. He's been better. What do you mean, is he okay? What a way to respond to that. You were impaled through the chest and you're like, like, that's for the weak. What am I gonna do? Die? Uh-uh. Pure stubbornness. Cover it up. Hide it. It'll be fine. I don't know, man. I was like, I should have been tense for that, shouldn't I? I feel like also like the sound design is different. Like I feel like the sound design should like get to me more, like it did. Because if anything, during some of the other times where I'm like, I don't know about this animation, I was like, the sound design has always been good though. See, that's cool though. They always manage to make like the eyes look pretty cool when they have like they close up on it. Because there's way less like detail in those scenes, right? So they're like, we can actually take the time to do stuff. It's never over. Whenever someone's like, it's over, I'm like, dang it, we're gonna have to go. There's gonna be worse now. You put that energy out there. Yeah. Honestly, the fact that they've made it 2 minutes is quite impressive. I mean, they're gonna be fine if he keeps giving us soliloquies. Oh, it's you. I mean, at least someone is aware that she's, you know, terrible. That's never good. See, there's the manic energy I was looking for. Oh yeah, never underestimate his craziness factor. The look on Hot's face of like, huh? Just some property damage, don't worry about it. It's probably fine. Did you need that tower anyway? This is where it really gets scary. Well, I guess he's not quite in his scary mode yet. We're still dealing with him being like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm in the part of the webtoon where he's just like, I'm angry. And I'm like, you know what? Me too. Rock is so cute. It's my sweet boy. Oh. Yeah, but the fact that you stopped it, also impressive. To be fair, he's not much of a talker anyway. I mean, I'm also a little bit disappointed. Look, I'm just thinking of like back with like the first episodes of the season, right? Where it almost felt like the world like warped around Bomb's power, right? Like he was so powerful, his attacks and like the Shinsu that he could control, that like the world couldn't stay intact around him. There's so much weight to his attacks that I'm like, give me that. Give me that vibe. Oh, this is where we get the official backstory. It's very battle royale. Very passive way of describing it too, of being like they died instead of like taking ownership of having done the action. Yeah. I'm sorry. Look, I want to be in it. I do. I want to be in the action. I know that some cool stuff is coming. But again, like when we were introduced to Violet, come on. I thought we weren't here to talk. Look at that hero stance, though. Calling it a finished product is wild. Ooh. I just had a thought. Because I was thinking, like, I want to, like, feel some more of the kind of manic energy. Right? The voice actor's doing his best, right? He's doing a great job having fun with this, with Beta, right? As a character. And I was like, why am I like, I need to feel the kind of manic energy more? And I'm like, because there's so much space in between attacks and stuff, right? Like, he's not just like throwing stuff at Bomb and seeing what happens, right? Like I can't feel the desperation because he's like waiting and like powering up instead of just like throwing attacks at him, right? Which I think you get a little bit of in like the webtoon because it'll like blend into the gutters, right? Like all the panels will kind of blend together as you're scrolling. So it'll be like a continuous blur of action. So you can kind of feel some of the manic energy of the fights, right? Because it's just like actions blending and blurring into each other. And I feel like I need to feel that in this. I need to feel just like Beta just wailing in the direction, almost like a tantrum, right? Of whoever he's up against. And instead, there's all this like space while he's just like talking, right? Like there's all these pausings and stutters to his actions. Just single dad energy. Mm-hmm. It's almost like weird things are going on. I was gonna say, we have someone on the inside. And how'd that work out for you? Man, I miss Lororo. It's been a minute since I've seen him in the webtoon. Yeah. This is but the beginning. Oof. Look, I don't want to like fixate. I could talk about plot things. I could talk about like stuff going on. I think that it's really interesting that like Beta calls like Violet like a product, right? Like a final product, like a finished product, right? That's how he looks at it because his life has been the workshop, right? Like it has been, he's basically like a prototype, right? Like he's like a failed experiment. And I think that says a lot about like how he looks at the world and everything. And I do appreciate that him, if nothing else, is like, Sophia, you suck. And I'm like, agreed. But I also feel like I don't feel that kind of like manic energy of him like falling apart. And that's like what that scene is supposed to be, right? It is him fraying at the edges as everything like escalates, and he like fully understands that this person standing in front of him is what he was supposed to be, and he isn't. Which means, what is his purpose? We're seeing someone whose like existence doesn't matter, basically. And that's why he has that like manic energy, because he's just, my life doesn't matter, so throw it away. I'm just going to lash out at everything and have an outlet, at least for how I feel. And if I go down in a blaze of glory, great. At least I did something, right? So that is something that I want to feel in the animation. And I feel like it's not just like the scary factor of it, because like someone who doesn't have anything to lose is terrifying, but also I want to feel the fact that he's lost control, especially at that end where he's like giving backstory and he's showing like the lengths he's willing to go to for freedom. And in a lot of ways, he's the only way for me to like actually be free is through like death, right? That's the ultimate way of me getting out, because they can't pull me back in. I can't be a prisoner anymore if that's what happens. So I feel like I need to feel that in the way that he's like attacking. And I feel like having something, and again, I don't know the ins and outs of like behind the scenes of like animation and everything, and my knowledge of doing animation is like fairly limited, but I feel like showing him just kind of throwing like attack after attack, like just this blur of like desperate, unhinged energy thrown at Bam would have been so much more impactful in that moment, where you can like see him like falling apart, because what does it matter with like strategy or technique or anything? And instead we're getting so much stillness in this episode. And again, I know some of that's like the animation limitations that are going on with this production, but I feel like that alone could have done so much for that scene, at least, of just the kind of like frantic, sporadic energy of just like throwing stuff, just like throwing attacks and energy and everything at Bam, and having it like not get to him, right? Because he is more powerful, right? Like he has more to work with against Beta. It's not much of a fight in terms of that side of it. It's more about learning about Beta as a person and like the empathy that Bam has. So I feel like that would have had so much more of a impact in the storytelling. But you know what? I'm not in charge of things, though. I wasn't part of this production. I don't know all the things going on behind the scenes, but it just makes me like a little bit sad, because I'm thinking back to the introduction of VOA, and like I said, the way that the world like warped around him, because that makes sense when you like Shinsu is part of like, the atmosphere, right? Like it's just like all around, which is why you have to like be certain, you have to work on like a certain resistance to it to just like move through parts of the tower, right? So it makes sense that like using Shinsu would warp the way that the world like functions around them, right? And it just looked really cool. You could feel the weight behind the attacks and everything. So it just makes me sad. I'm starting to get why people were like, ooh, the being tricked by this series of like, it started off and boy, did it fall off. And I'm like, I'm feeling it now. I'm starting to feel it, because I'm like, what it could have been, the potential bothers me more than something just like being straight up bad, because this is like almost okay. That gets under my skin more, but I guess I hope you enjoyed watching it along with me anyway. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to miss the time I post a Tower of God reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.